Good evening, everyone. I am CA Parag Rawal, the moderator of this webinar. We all at CP Committee are delighted to welcome you all in the webinar being organized by CP Committee of ICI. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for the webinar on Statutory Bank Branch Audit under CBS environment and DNA of GST appeals. In a short while, we will start this webinar. First, I would like to apprise you about CP Committee of our institute. The role of a chartered accountant in evolving continuously to accept newer responsibilities in a dynamic global environment. The future of chartered accountant profession depends on being flexible and open to innovation. Therefore, the need for of our is to innovate as per the requisites of the contemporary business environment and accordingly upgrade the curriculum and education system of chartered accountancy course. The committee also believes that members of ICI should look beyond the traditional areas of practice and seek and explore new areas of business and profession, and hence the CP committee is mentoring the members by providing guidance through various workshops, seminars, national conferences, background materials, etc., and simultaneously by encouraging young and dynamic professionals to grow as speaker or master of ceremonies, etc., in CP programs. The program for this evening is as follows. We have two sessions of 1 hour each, and topics are statutory bank branch audit under CBS environment, and another topic is GST appeals DNA. Our eminent speakers will talk about mentioned two emerging areas of professional interest. With this, if Vice Chairman of our CP committee is present, I would like him to
अरे भाई नहीं है
deliver
नहीं
the.
है
Okay. In absence of Vice Chairman, I welcome the Chairman of CP Committee of ICI, CA Purushottam Khandelwal, to give the opening remark and deliver the keynote address. But before that, let me introduce CA Purushottam Khandelwal to the participants. CA Purushottam Khandelwal is a chairman of CP Committee of ICI, as well as he is a convener of RBI Directorate of ICIs. He is having 25 years of post qualification experience in the field of audit, direct and indirect taxes, and intellectual property rights. This year, he is devoted to fortifying CP framework and guaranteeing quality across its entire operational spectrum. And this year, major focus of CP committee would be on upgrading of CP portal for enhancement of the branding and professional competency of members. With this introduction, I present before you CA Purushottam Khandelwal and request him to deliver the opening remark and keynote address. Purushottam Khandelwal, sir, please.
गुड आफ्टरनून
Good.
रिस्पेक्टेड my friend philosopher guide past vice chairman of WRC under whom I groomed. I started my working with Parag Bhai since 2007 when he was a chairman of Ahmedabad branch, and he guided me a lot and reached to this position. Faculties for the first technical session, and my dear friend Kuntal Shah, whom I know since he was a student and he was present in the Vikasa committee. Secretary of the CP committee, very dynamic, enthusiastic, and always helping hand to the members, Ajit Naji Tiwari. And the second session, Praveen Sharmaji, who is the expert in the GST. And dear participants, it gives immense pleasure to be amongst you. Again, this year, a president reposed faith in me and given again served to chairman as a CP committee and the RBI directorate. CP committee is a mother of all committee, and we organize across the India a relevant topic for the members, though to upgrade their knowledge and deliver them in the best. So today you are knowing that on the end of the March, the bank branch audit will be started. So we invited expert of the bank branch audit. Kuntal is in techno savvy. He is expert in the technology. He is aware of the CBS environment of banking. So I requested Parag Bhai to request Kuntal to take this session because he is also busy. He is moving across the country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari for the bank branch audit. Thank you, Kuntal, for coming. I will not take much of the time. I will not in between you and Kuntal Bhai. So please, I hand over charge to the Parag Bhai for the further processing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, CCM CA Pusham Khandelwal sir, for the nice words of, and keynote address for this opening up this lecture meeting. First, I would like to invite CA Kuntal Pisha for delivering his talk on statutory bank branch audit under CBS environment and DNA. On the statutory bank branch audit under CBS environment. CA Kuntal Shah is a practicing chartered accountant. He completed his chartered accountancy in the year 2007 and has a vast experience in the fields of audit, income tax, FEMA, GST, and companies law. He is also associated with various publications for his writings. He has also delivered multiple sessions in various training programs, certificate courses, and seminars conducted by various forums, including our Institute of Chartered Accountants. With this brief introduction, I present before you our first speaker, C.A. Kuntal Pisha, and request him to begin with his presentation. C.A. Kuntal Shah, please.
Thanks a lot, Pushottam ji. Thanks a lot, Parag sir. Thank you, Tiwari ji, as well. And welcome to the co-speaker, Sharma Praveen ji, as well. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be part of initiative of CP Committee of ICI. Currently, there's a flavor of this bank branch audit. And likewise, the topic was also selected on that line, one of the topic for this today's webinar. The topic itself is too vast. So what I'll be doing is I'll be deliberating important portion of that. However, I'll share this entire presentation with CP committee, which in turn will host it or share it with the participants as well. So without wasting much of a time, we'll also have a question and answer time frame as well at the last 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And during that time, I'll be scrolling through certain important parts of my deliberation. As I stated, I'll not be in a position to take entire this presentation during this part of seminar. However, some other time, some other forum, or maybe some other session, we can have it some next part as well. With this, let's start with this one. A few set of disclaimers. So, what is there in the store today? That's one is that audit activity through CBS. So, what I have done is I have tried to compile all requirements of LFAR paragraph by paragraph wise, and then I've seen how it can be carried out through a CBS platform. Now, I have considered 3 CBS, 4 versions: Finacle, FlexCube, and TCS banks. And and in Finacle, I have considered Finacle 7 and Finacle 10 as well. And I have tried to assimilate all this thing through an LFAR requirement. I just wanted to share this, that this LFAR requirement is only from the system perspective. So other auditing aspects or other auditing checkpoints, you need to have it independently for auditing. So this is only with respect to the CBS part. If time permits, we'll go into the automated asset classification. What are the RBI's guidelines? What RBI is expecting, and whether banks are in a position to fulfill that, and whether the auditors, whenever they are writing into an LFAR or through a certificate that entire system is functioning in order as per the IRSCP guidelines of RBI, what kind of issues we may face, or probably whether we have carried out certain set of processes before issuing a certificate or reporting into an LFAR. So that part we'll be in a position to see it in the third part, important CBS parameters for NP identification. And as stated, if time permits, we'll have some case studies as well. It's a long list of things to be covered in a very short span of time. Let's start with this part. Firstly, let's understand this entire screen in front of us. We have the titles will share. Title will say that what's the paragraph we are looking into an LFAR, that is under an asset and under a cash. The numeric in the parentheses are that denotes that there will be more than 1 or 2 aspects to be talked into this particular aspect. Then there will be an LFAR paragraph requirement. What are the suggested audit checkpoints? That is, I have mentioned. Now, these checkpoints are with respect to CBS part, as I have stated. And the next one would be the system support. Now it shows that if you want to do this part, which are the supported menu codes or a flow into CBS under various systems. Now I have tried to assimilate as much as possible, as much near to the requirement as possible. It may so happen that some of the menu codes are not accessible or some are not useful. So what I always suggest to the participants that you can have a copy of this. You can make your own audit manual based on this presentation. You can just jot it down your specific menu codes. If menu code I have suggested is not useful or it's not working at the particular location, you can mention manually yours as well. So now that entire document becomes an audit manual for us. That is from a system perspective. So basically, this is an architecture. Let's understand and let's start with the LFAR requirement first. So the first point I have selected is this: have the cash balances at the branch ATMs have been checked periodically, checked at periodical interval as per the procedure prescribed by controlling authority. What can be our audit checkpoints? Whether cash balances as on the date of verification is matching with the physical cash. So what's the balance? Secondly, whether the balance size appearing in CBS agree with the balance size mentioned in the periodic review. Now, as you all are aware that the bank would have at least on a monthly or on an increased or a decreased frequency certain uh, checks to be carried out into cash balances. So on a predefined frequency, the person who is not handling cash would be verifying the cash and will be reporting to controlling authorities that yes, the cash balance is in order. Now let's say a reporting is made for 25 lakh rupees of a cash on a particular day, whether that is matching with what is there in the system or not. Now these aspects can be verified through these options. Now let me guide you through this one. At present, on a major banks, I would say on a public sector, private sector banks, three predominant systems are in vogue. That is Finacle, TCS Banks, and FlexCube by Oracle. Now, under Finacle, most of the banks have migrated to Finacle 10 now. However, the immediate previous version is Finacle 7. What I've done is I've included both the menu codes or the system support for both systems. Whichever one the bank is using, you may make use of those. Now, first and the foremost thing is in ACLI. ACLI is account ledger inquiry. It gives detailed transaction-wise listing of all the specific ledger for a specific period. So where you can explore the transaction, you can go inside the transaction by pressing Control E on a particular selected transaction. It takes you to the transaction voucher stage. Uh, it is a very powerful and very basic command, but it's very powerful and useful for the auditors. Uh, at any point of time, whenever you carry out audit, ensure that you verify the transactions, source of transactions from where the funds are originating or the utilization part. Now, for that purpose, ACLI would be the important menu codes menu code for usage. Same way in TCS banks, for there are various reports available. In TCS banks also there are short codes like we have it in Finacle ACLI or HACLI. However, in TCS bank the short codes are in numeric. Now it becomes very difficult to remember those numbers. So what I have done into this is I have kept a flow. So you can first go to reports, cash related reports, and go to the view cash summary. That gives you one of the type of the cash report. Same way we have the branch report, cash officer's jotting book report, and then the certain cash and teller reports. Same way in case of FlexCube, you have right from chart of accounts to the ledger balances, right? So understand what is required. Now menu codes anyone can give you, or there are plenty of sources available now. However, what is important in audit is we need to understand what we would like to audit. Secondly, once we audit certain part, how to effectively extract information or review information. Extract here does not mean that you need to take out all the data into an Excel and then work on an Excel. No, if the system is specifically designed and if you can get certain things from the system itself, that would be the best one, so that you can get authenticated information without manipulating the data. So If it is not available, the second course would be the Excel part. Whatever you are doing, ensure that you mention or you make a note of it that you have carried out a review process in this manner. So what I would suggest is start with a blank LFAR. You have an audit manual like one I have prepared for a system side. You add up your points with respect to review of certain documents or how many samples you would like to verify. And on the right hand side, one more column, you can mention what you have carried out, what are the work paper references, or in case something is carried out on a system, which is what is the process that you followed while working through the system. So that gives an exhaustive work paper for LFR related aspects. The second part would be whether branch generally carry or the cash balances which vary significantly from the limits fixed by the controlling authority. Now that's a very common question. We get it across the board because we need to mention it into an LFAR audit requirement that whether there are significantly high balances carried by the branch. However, there is no specific report available in the basic version of the software. There are certain amendments or the customizations made into the system, but it depends on bank to bank. However, banks would have designed certain set of reports which are generated from the back end. So now what we need to do is once we go into the bank, we need to understand what is the system. That is, system means CBS as well as the reporting system. Now reporting system will have a push based reports wherein every day basis, on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, on a year end basis, there will be certain set of reports generated and pushed through these network folders. And from network folders, branches can exercise that report and make use of those one. I would suggest that all the members should understand that reporting framework as well as the system. Once you are through with this, that you have an access to the report folders, you can review which kind of reports that are generated by the system, and you can make use suitably to your requirement. Once you have that kind of thing, let's say it's a first year, so in that scenario you may require some additional time to be put through into it, and you just make a note of it which are the useful reports and just link it to the audit requirement. CAQ has also released a checklist. You can make use of that. Institute is working all around to make sure that our quality of audit process increases to a manifold than what is having which we are having right now. So you can make use of that one. Now in this case, in ACLI or HACL INQ or this other reports, you will get the day end balances, whereas what we require many of the time is that day wise GL balance, which might not be immediately available from the system. So in that scenario, we may need to seek from the reports available or generated by the banks. The third one is an ATM. Now ATM is a bit tricky in current context as well. In many of the banks, the ATMs are basically of two type in terms of a technologically or the service type we consider. Off-site ATM and an on-site ATM. Off-site ATMs are the ATMs which are not connected to branch but connected directly through the central team and being serviced by some agency. Now on-site ATMs are generally at where the branch is located, a space is allocated, and that's an on-site. It may so happen that in many of the banks, even the on-site ATMs are also not serviced by the branch, but by the third-party agency. Now, in that scenario, third-party agency will have an access to the ATM and branch would not have. The GL would also not be there in the branch, and the reporting would be directly to the head office by the third-party agency. Now, what happens is, in case where the ATM is serviced by the branch, the GL is with the branch, whether or not whether GL is there with the branch or not. But if it is serviced by the branch, we need to review it and we need to include that part into the LFAR as well. Now, what happens is when you go to the ATM, ATM gives you a switch report and it also gives you the cassette wise denomination numbers. So what we need to do is first we need to review what's the cash available in the ATM as well as the overage bin, and that cash is whether it is matching with this switch balance or not. Immediately after that, we also need to verify what's the balance in the GL and whether the both balances are matching or not. So from the perspective of a CBS, what is to be reviewed is the GL balance, because switch reporting would come from the ATM system itself. So the review of GL would again will be through the account ledger inquiry option. So once you have that particular aspect, that you have carried out verification of an ATM, and before the ATM is put to use or immediately after coming out of an ATM, just generate the GL report as well. So that gives you at the specific time that what's the balance that you have carried out the review, and what's the balance at that point of time into the system. And if there are any differences, you need to report it to into the LFR, and if need be, some MOC is also required. You need to suggest that part as well. Why I stated MOC? It has been observed that in many of the cases, the ATM balances are in digits, that is a decimal, or in an odd amount, which is generally not how the ATM is replenished. Now, the particular reason for that is many of the time charges or some kind of other expenditure are also recorded into this balance, which is not a correct practice, and due to which there will be a difference into the balance as well. So please review it from that perspective as well. Now moving on to the next part, that is balance with RBI and an SBI. Now for this, we need to understand from the system perspective how these transactions are recorded and how the GL is maintained. Now for a case where the balance is with RBI or an SBI, the system will, the CBS would have, the branch CBS would have a mirror account. Now mirror account is actually to record a transaction which is carried out with the in the other account. Now that particular mirror account is a fraud prone area. There have been various instances in past observed wherein the branches have misused that particular mirror account for a intraday TOD, or for accommodation entries, or for taking away the money, or that is an actual fraud. The important part in our audit system is that we verify the year-end balance. Now that is a perfectly in order audit requirement. I would suggest one step further. Also review the intervening period transactions and match it with the other banks. Let's say if the balance is with SBI, just obtain the bank statement from SBI and just match it with that as well. Also check whether there is a huge difference between the dates as well or not, transaction days. Now the cases where this manipulations have happened, it was observed that way that in the intervening period, let's say on a 2nd of February, some entry would be debited into this mirror account and the other account would get credited. Before 29th or 28th of February, this entry would be reversed. So at the end of the month, the amount will be completely in order. The balance would be completely fine. And whenever you verify with the balance certificate or the last balance, it won't show anything there into this particular account. In last few years, it has also been observed that these accounts were used or rather misused for manipulation of credit turnover for an account which is having low credit turnover and turning into an NPA. So there are endless possibilities into it. I just wish, I don't want to say that everyone is using this aspect or anything. I don't want to have any kind of this one. However, our audit process should be matured enough to consider all kind of possibilities while carrying out an audit. Now, this requires again a ledger review, and it's the same set of command that we need to verify. Now, understand this, in this particular aspect, there is no system driven control available to match whether the transactions are matching with the earlier that is the other system or not. That is the account statement of SBI. It is a manual process carried out by branch officers or a central team officer. So what we need to ensure is there is a manual control here, and we need to have an enhanced review mechanism into this one. Now, here comes the advances and bit tricky as well. Now, you all would have gone through this part wherein review of large advances is required to be mentioned into the LFR itself. Whatever we would have selected as sample is also required to be mentioned into LFR itself. Gone are the days where we used to say that we have carried out work on sample, but we were not mentioning which accounts we have selected for sample. But in an amended LFAR, it is mandatory. Now, why I am harping upon this part is, in this case, you need to first ascertain what is a large advance. Now, there is a definition given under for the LFAR in LFAR, that what constitute or what is considered, which account of which customer is considered a large advance. So the outstanding amount is in excess of 10% of outstanding aggregate balance of fund based as well as non-fund based advances, or 10 crore, whichever is less. Now understand this. What we generally do is we verify the on balance sheet items, that is a funded exposure. No, but in this case, you need to aggregate the funded as well as non-funded. So you need to aggregate the total advances plus the contingent liability, that is on an LC, BG, or a co-acceptance, or any aspects are there. The aggregate of that will become a denominator, and the amount that is outstanding of a customer on a funded and a non-funded will become a numerator. Now, once you identify that part, check whether the condition of 10% or 10 crores is getting breached. If yes, you need to have that account selected for as a large advance. Now, what LFAR prescribes is, for a large advance, you need to carry out transaction detailing, whereas for the other cases, you need to verify the control aspects. Now, ensure that whenever you select, first and the foremost thing is that selection of advance is proper. It should not happen that way any of the account gets skipped because the computation was not done properly. So what you require is, you require a report of all advances before commencement of audit. You also require the non-funded report, both customer wise as well as total in an aggregate as well. And then with certain work in an Excel, you can ascertain that which is the account which are the account which gets mandatorily tagged as large advances, right? So that's the part. Now, no system would give you this kind of working directly through a report. So we'll require certain set of reports to be generated from system, and thereafter we need to carry out work outside the system to ascertain this one. Whatever work that you carry out, please keep it as a work paper. Then comes the credit appraisal, renewal of limit, and enhancement of limit. I'll share a few of the cases here as well. Most of the banks have now got the system, foolproof system, I would say, on not on a cent percent, but on a 90-95% foolproof basis, the system wherein the accounts are getting identified and marked as NPA automatically. However, there have been certain instances we have observed wherein, though the system is automatically working on an automatic mode, however, certain manipulation into the transaction or into the masters had an impact on this particular system's behavior. Let's understand first on, let's say, an enhancement of limit. Now, what happens is, let's say there is an account with an sanction limit of 100 rupees. Now, the customer's account is continuously, let's say it's a CC account, continuously in excess of 100 for 89 days. Now, what happens that, let's say on 89 day, the limit is increased to 100, from 100 to 125. Now, to understand this, we first need to understand how the system behave. System on day end basis, every day end basis will check whether outstanding balance, let's say 105, is in excess of limit, that is 100. If the answer is yes, system will say yes. The next day. So system will also check it past 90 days, right, on a running basis, and will see to it since when this anomaly is going on. Now, if it crosses 90 day, the account will be termed as NPA. Now, what happens is, let's say now on 89th day, a limit in the system was enhanced from 100 to 125. At the day end of 89th or 90th day, system will check whether 105 is, that is outstanding balance 105, is in excess of 125. The answer is no, meaning thereby the balance is within the limit. what is important here as an auditor is to review whether increase of limit from 100 to 125 is authorized as per the authority prescribed by the bank. If it is not authorized, it may be used as a conduit for the account not turning that account into an NPA, or you can say the bypassing the system. It will happen on a very rare basis, or probably you will not find at all. The point here is we are not chasing these kind of things. What we are chasing, or what we would like to have, it is our audit process should be strong enough to consider that have we checked the changes in account limit during the year. So my audit checkpoint would be to check from the system the history of changes in the limit, that is history of change in sanction limit and history of change in drawing power. That is very important and it must be reviewed. Once you find that there is a change in the limit, whether the same is authorized or the same is also available in the documentation, whichever documentation we will be verifying for increasing the limit as per the authority or the delegation of financial powers. If so, that is perfectly fine. Meaning thereby we need to have the list of events across the account selected for audit. So let's say we have selected 10 accounts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For account number 5, whether changes in limit. So after review through the system, we find that yes, there are 3 changes during the year. Whether all these 3 changes are authorized changes or not as per the documentation. So you have an system support available here across the this one, all the systems. ACLHM is an excellent command where you can find the history of changes in account limit. It shows you that date on which the limit got changed. Now, while using ACLHM, you need to use it 2 times. That is one for SL and one for DP. Now, DP would have changed on a monthly basis based on the stock statement, book date statement updated. However, just see to it that other than changes in the changes on account of stock statement or book date, any manual changes have occurred. Same way with the SL as well. Now all the systems are configured in a way the least of 2, that is least of SL and least of DP, would be the limit available for use to the borrower. So let's assume that my DP is 100, my SL is 70. So system will allow only 70. However, if I update the SL from 70 to 150, system will give me now least of both would be 150 and 100, that is DP of 100. So you need to check on from both perspective. Are there any unauthorized or incorrect changes made into the system? And if so, is there any impact on the asset classification or not? Whether that can be said to be a manual intervention into the system or not? What is the data integrity in this kind of environment? Now, these all questions are there in LFAR, and you need to respond to all these questions as a branch auditor into LFAR. So I would suggest that create an Excel file where all your samples are mentioned in first column, and then you have multiple columns available. Let's say the limits. What is sanction limit? Is there any change in the sanction limit? So you verify it from the system. The next column, you can say that whether it's there in the documentation as well. Are there any divergences? So once the SL, the same the DP, same way EMI amount, same way the loan expiry date. So whether all these particulars which are there into the sanction letters are properly updated into the system or not, that is also very important. Otherwise, what will happen is the document will go in one way, the system will go in the other way. Right. There have been various instances. If time permit, I'll show you some cases as well. How the systems are manipulated, and we tend to believe that system is working perfectly fine, but the problem is parked somewhere else. We'll check those cases as well. This is on a quick mortality. I'll just quickly go through this part. Interest rate. Now, this is very important one. There are 2-3 aspects on related to interest into LFAR. One is correctness of interest. fed into the system. Just see to it how the interest rate is captured. What happens in case there is a change in the reference rate, let's say MCLR, that point is also there into an LFR. Interest itself is a subject uh, for study. May not be possible in this short time to discuss in detail about interest. This one, however, ensure that whenever there is a reference rate loan, the proper table, interest table is selected. That is not static interest rate is updated into the interest rate field. Instead, a table is selected. On a random basis or for a sample basis, you can check. You'll have the list of changes during the year in MCLR or the reference rates during the year and the date of change. Just see to it that whether on that day this interest rate also got updated into this account or not. So with this you can complete this two aspects, that is previous one and this one. There is one more point with respect to EBLR. Now this is a bit tricky. External benchmark lending rate. Now what happens is in case of an EBLR can be of an external benchmarking, let's say T-bill rate. Now you need to have, before commencing an audit, you need to first understand, are there any loans with an EBLR interest rate? If yes, you need to first ascertain what is the benchmark. Now let's say once you have a benchmark in hand, you need to see to it whether when the changes have happened during the year in that particular benchmark, whether there is a system in place where such external benchmark rates are also fed into the system, which eventually has an update into the borrower's account. Now, this is what is expected into an LFR. So, it's a quite a long exercise you need to carry out in case of an EBLR loan. So, first ascertain whether there are any EBLR based loans or not. Once you ascertain that part, you need to carry out that process. Yeah, there is an excellent command across the board for changes in interest rate, like we had it ACL HM on account limit history maintenance. We have an INTTM in FNACL or INTTI, interest table master maintenance or an inquiry. At the same time, in TCS banks, you have deposit CCOD account services and interest rate history, same way in DLTL. Now, there is a difference between the two in terms of information that you get. In case of FNACL, you will get only those entries into INTTM wherein the table is changed. Let's say MCLR table is changed with MCLR plus 2 table, right? Whereas in TCS banks, you will find changes including the change occurred in MCLR or the reference rate. So meaning thereby, if your loan rate was MCLR is 8%, 2% is spread, the net is 10. Now MCLR, let's say assume that changed to 9. So now the effective rate would be 11. In TCS banks, you will find 10 and 11 and with the dates. Whereas in FNACL, you will not find that kind of thing. If that MCLR particular interest table is changed, it would be appearing therein. Same way, you can use a command called AINT RPT, though it's not a direct change appearing this one. However, AINT RPT will give an interest report wherein interest rate would be mentioned along with the date. That is a detailed interest computation report. It's again a very good report for auditors to try out. Frequent renewal, rollover, or short-term loans. I think we'll skip that part. Credit rating we'll skip for the time being. Buyback. I'll share one of the, I'll not name the bank, but recently there is a huge fraud detected into this and made an headline as well. One of the private sector banks employee was misusing fixed deposit placed by the customer in that particular branch, and he used to create an FDOD, that is an overdraft on the fixed deposit. And then from that money, he used to again open some accounts and again FD and kind of thing, just to complete the business target or achieve those business targets. Now it becomes very important for us, which we generally consider that it's a least risky product, and we generally don't carry out review in detail like we do it with the other type of account. However, I would suggest that with these all cases looming around, it's better that we verify and select samples from the list of accounts from system rather than selecting sample from the physical file, because you are not aware of whether the physical files are the actual is actually a population or a correct population. So select it from the system data, that is an advanced report that we generally get, right? And select from that on a random basis, review it whether there is a process of marking lien on at two places, that is one on an FD receipt and secondly in the system itself. Whether the lien marking is there in the system, that is also very important part, and we should not be skipping that part. Right. So, and just mention that what is the entire process that you have carried out. ALM is the command account lien maintenance, where you can find the lien marking details as well as the charged, that is connected account, OD account or a CC account. Same way that's in TCS banks and FlexCube, there is a collateral maintenance and the lien master. Stock and book date statements and DP computation, whether DP is properly computed, this is what the question is in LFAR. I would suggest everyone to refer to the latest guidance note on audit of bank released by ICI, AASB of ICI, that gives very clear cut, unambiguous aspects to be looked into for this particular case. What is important here is that whether the stock statements, book date statements obtained, and the values from stock statement, book date statements are correctly captured into the system, whether the margins are properly updated into the system, and whether the DP that should be given to the borrower is also matching. Now, what happens is many of the time the margin is changed into the system, which gives higher DP in certain cases, or in certain cases we have observed that the value is not correctly captured into the system itself. Now that actually has an impact on DP. Eventually that has an impact onto the asset classification as well. Now this is one aspect of it. I'll share another case or on a bit technical this part. In system, you can have DP arrived based on 2-3 aspects. One, you can say that my DP would be arrived based on stock statement, book date statement values. That is how it should be in these cases. However, in system, there is a provision wherein you can specify that DP would be equals to sanction limit. There are cases wherein DP is not linked to the stock statement and book date statement. So irrespective of the value of stock statement or the book date statement you enter, the DP will remain fixed. Now that is a very dangerous part as an auditor when you are reviewing these cases. So just ensure that, or I would suggest that whenever you select, let's say 5 sample, 10 samples, compute the value into an Excel or an external sheet to ascertain that what would be the DP in this particular case and what is the DP that is computed by the system. So one side you have all sanction letters and everything and bank instructions and the stock statements computed, ignoring this entire system computation, and thereafter also check with the system. It may so happen that there is a change or there is a difference between the two. Ascertain what is the reason for the same. It is very important because once you have a problem in DP, it will have percolating effect onto the asset classification as well, right? So now for this perspective, we can use command called SRM, that is security register maintenance. Now it may so happen that SRM is not enabled. We can use CLL or HCLM in Finacle 7. Finacle 10, there is a command called HSCLM. In case of TCS banks, we can go to the security under DLTL accounts and primary and collateral security. In TCS banks, the entire mechanism is this, that a user has to first create a collateral. Collateral ID is created and collateral ID is then mapped to the account. So once that is mapped to an account, the amount will flow from that collateral ID to the account. So what we need to do is we need to review it through this menu codes. What are the amount that is that are those are updated into those particular collateral. Then comes the DP part. If at all you find at any place that DP is not properly computed, your immediate next step should be to ascertain whether with the new DP, what would be the asset classification. If the account is turning into an NP or an SMA as well in certain cases, then you need to mention accordingly into this part as well as other part of LFAR as well. So please ensure that this is a very important aspect into verifying this aspect. There are frequent TODs observed, unauthorized overdrawings observed. Now, this is what I always feel is very difficult part, or rather the most difficult part of LFAR is this one. Read the question. Has the branch identified and classified advances into standard, substandard, doubtful, loss asset through the computer system without manual intervention? Now, is this identification and classification in line with the norms prescribed by RBI? Now, what we need to understand into this part is RBI has issued a circular on September 14, 2020, and it was referred to in IRACP as well. Automation of this asset classification, provisioning, and revenue recognition. Can we say that whether this entire IRACP is all the conditions, whatever conditions are there under IRACP for identification, classification, upgradation, anything are automized and are operating without manual intervention? If our answer is yes, that's fine. We just need to mention. But then what will happen in case of an agriculture advance? Whether any systems are there where the crop patterns are updated based on crop pattern system, ascertain what would be the harvesting period, what would be the due date for the loan. There may be very few banks. At least I have not seen any, but there may be some. Then comes, there have been instances wherein various banks it has been observed that in case of a project loan, the DCCO is not updated or DCCO is not achieved, but there is no place to update DCCO, extended DCCO, revised DCCO. In that scenario, how would the system ascertain that this account is required to be identified as NPA automatically without manual intervention? In this year's guidance note, you can find a detailed checklist under CBS chapter where this entire circular is dissected into 4 parts. Each condition for downgrading, upgradation, provisioning, revenue recognition is considered, and what would be a system related review that you should carry out. Do read that part. Answering this particular question itself is a difficult point, and you should not be taking it very leniently. If you mention yes, then you need to have this a complete review documentation with you that yes, we have carried out all condition review, and in all cases we have found that there is no problem. In that scenario, that's fine. But if at all you find any issue in certain cases or some limitations, you need to mention, expressly mention that this case is not there into the system, and hence the bank would be using it through the manual mode. Right. Now, these are some of the cases where manual may not be a direct intervention. See, we should not be reading this manual intervention like system has identified an account as a substandard and someone has changed from substandard to standard. No, we should not be reading it with this mindset. What we need to read it that, are there any events which have actually led to a point where system has not identified this account as substandard, or system has erroneously upgraded that account because of some fictitious entry or some credit which is not actually a genuine credit. So these can be few of the cases. Same way is case with the SMA as well. Some of the events I have mentioned which can be useful for us, though now the SMA is specifically onto the overdues. However, these are very important conditions which were there earlier into IRAC circular, which are also very useful for us for identifying certain cases. Upgradation, it's categorically mentioned now that the account can be upgraded only when entire overdue across the board, that is all the accounts of customer, in any of the account there should not be any overdue. Even a 1 rupee of overdue is considered as overdue for a customer, and none of the account can be upgraded into this case. How the system is performing this activity, that also we need to check. Yes, this one, and this is an interesting case. Many of the when I go for a delivering lecture, many of the members do ask me what's the need of this particular this point. And let's understand on a technical basis first, and then how it can be reviewed through the system. There is an customer having a limit of 500, that is funded and non-funded. Funded is 300, non-funded is 200. The customer has used completely 300 funded and completely 200 non-funded. Now customer is in a very deep trouble and is not making repayment. Now what happens is that one of the guarantee got invoked. Let's say a guarantee of, let's say, 50 rupees. Now what happens is the moment the guarantee is invoked, that gets crystallized into the funded exposure. Now the moment we have it on a funded exposure, the 300 is already used to the brim, whereas 200 is also used, but out of 200 now the 50 will be out, because that 50 is now turning into an funded exposure. So what the banks generally do in this scenario is 50 they park it into an office account for a temporary measure. Moment you park it there in an office account, you on an non-funded exposure, you have now 50 limit available. Out of 200, 150 would be appearing as utilized. Now, conveniently, in many of the sanction letters, the bank would have included a clause of interchangeability allowed between funded and non-funded. And post to invocation of BG, this clause is invoked. So, in what happens is now they change the limit interchangeability from 300 to 350 and 200 to 150, and that amount appearing under an office account will get transferred to the funded exposure. So now the outstanding would be 350 against the limit of 350, meaning thereby there is no overdue. Now what RBI is expecting from us as an auditor is whether any such kind of thing have happened into the branch where we are auditing. If so, we need to mention this completely into this one. As such, LFAR is not stating, or rather any other requirement or provisions or circular is not saying that this account should be turned into an NPA just because of this. However, a call is required to be taken based on circumstantial evidences and issues, and based on that we need to review it. So there is no one stick for all kind of approach that can be there into this part. Office accounts, I am just keeping.
Kuntal,
Yes, sir.
may I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
Kuntal, time is very short and this topic is very vast.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I have 2-3 questions from the participants. Should
Okay.
I pose right now? Very important questions.
Just 2 minutes, sir. I'll show.
Yeah, I agree, Kuntal. But
Yeah.
these queries of the participant would take certain longer time
Agreed.
for you.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
I'm fine with
The
it.
one
You
question is
can
from
tell me.
Santi Vangalappayan. Her question is, every bank uses different software for their maintenance of accounts, from where we have to extract information from audit, right? Is it possible for the ICI part that they can provide training to the chartered accountants who are doing audit of bank branch? Is it possible to give the training for on various software which a bank are maintaining or
Okay.
operating?
Shantiji, I'll be in a position to answer only a part of your query, because I'll not be representing directly to ICI. But first part I can. The first part that I'm referring to is that, frankly speaking, it is a lot of issues are there. ICI did try earlier as well. I don't want to say that ICI has not tried. I am privy to certain information. Problem is these softwares are proprietary softwares, and the software providers are not in sharing this software for demo purpose. So the problem is not only the providing software for demo, the data aspect as well. Some dummy data is also required. Now these softwares are not like software that, let's say, an MS Office or kind of software we install it in our system. It's a Herculean set of software. So basically, it's not available on exactly if I answer your query. However, we try. All faculties generally try and give all kind of this training in terms of without even sharing the screenshots, obviously. But that's what we can do right now. Institute did try, and probably they are trying as well, but I'll keep that part on an institute central council members. But I would suggest, if you have not undergone certificate course on concurrent audit, there lot of deliberations happen about 4.5 hours. So you can have undergo that kind of training, and there is a manual on concurrent audit as well, the institute publication. You can refer that. It's an exhaustive material there as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kuntal.
Yeah.
Kuntal, another question is from Shamal Sarkar.
Yeah.
His question is, we have to take lot of documentation for our purpose from bank, and we have to ask the bank to get it photocopied, right?
Yeah.
Instead of photocopy, can I take pic of those document which I need for my document purpose on my mobile? Is it possible or ethical? Is it? Am I permitted? The question is.
Sir, ethically, I would say no. Reason being, whenever you take any document, that document should be in the trusted list of document which you can take. If it is within that, now what I mean with trusted set of document would be where the bank would have specified that for your audit perspective, you can take these many documents, or these documents you cannot take because there will be some data integrity or data data security part. First and foremost thing is that you need to understand what is the bank's policy into this. You can talk to the bank as well as with the CSA, and you can ascertain which are the documents you can take it for audit perspective. Once you have that, please have it. But I would suggest avoid taking snaps through phone. Instead, have a screenshot and have your all review documentation maintained there, and thereafter take it. Taking through phone is not proper, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kuntal. Kuntal, the last question is from Jalak Vora from Rajkot. What he says, the calculation of drawing power differ from bank to bank. Certain banks are adopting a practice of, say, stock is 100, less paid creditor, unpaid creditor, or
Yeah,
some
yeah,
margin. So this method of calculating, arriving at DP are different from bank to bank. So is there any standardization, and
yeah. Yes.
what practice you have to follow? This is
Uh,
the last question for you, Kuntal.
I categorically stated one sentence when I was dealing with DP that just go through guidance note on audit of bank. There is a specific paragraph therein, especially for the paid stock or the treatment of sundry creditor therein. I would not say right now anything which might not be soothing to certain set of bankers or certain this one. However, creditors are required to be reduced. That's my opinion, and a lot of other persons' opinion as well. As far as margin and other part is concerned, that the bank to bank they do decide. However, if you have a that will be as per policy of the bank. Right. So you can't, policy would be a board approved policy. Yes. If in any account the margin requirement is not properly set and which is beyond the policy of the bank, yes, then there is a problem.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kuntal.
Yeah.
One another question just pop up. It is also from Jalak Vora. It said, due to security policy, we are not able to take documents or files from branch via email, soft
Yeah.
copy, and some data is not possible to take printouts. In that case, what are your suggestions with respect to peer reviews and all? Because you have to collect
Yes.
plethora of documents.
Yes. There is a very thin line here. As I stated, I think the first or a second query as well. That's very thin line. First, understand and ascertain that which are the document that you can have it. Have a discussion with the bank first and with the CSA as well. get a concurrence first. So what happens is many of the time we can't have it. However, from bank employee we can get it, but before getting through them, have a concurrence, right? Without with doing certain kind of thing which is not proper, we are not only creating trouble for us, but with some other part as well. So I would suggest once you start an audit, you start the dialogue, or many of the banks they do have a meeting as well, right? Explain them. If they are not in a position to understand, have CSA be in touch, because CSA would also be a chartered accountant and they would also be following the peer review requirement, right? So please have it that way, so that will actually create a good environment and you can have it your required this one. But without informing, please don't do anything. That is not a good sign.
Very fine, Kuntal. I highly appreciate your presentation. I know the topic allotted to you, um, statutory bank branch audit under CBS, is a like very vast topic, like ocean, and within given time frame, it is very very important, very very difficult rather to justify the topic. However, you have nicely, very aptly justified the topic on behalf of CP committee. I am highly thankful to you for the fantastic presentation and clearing all doubts of the participants. Thank you so much, Kuntal. Now we are turning for the another presentation, that is the DNA of GST appeals. We have another speaker, CA Praveen Sharma ji. Praveen Sharma ji has an immense knowledge of 14 years on the indirect taxes and SME consultancy. He is a recognized faculty for Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for indirect taxes and has addressed certificate and advanced courses of ICI and other institutions on GST. Not only this, he has also provided GST training to officers of 32 states and has delivered more than 500 lectures on GST. So I'm very proud to present before you CA Praveen Sharma ji for his presentation on DNA of GST appeals. Praveen Sharma ji, you will be very happy that there are 500 registrations for this seminar, and people are very eager to hear your view, listen your views. Over to Praveen Sharma ji for his presentation. Praveen ji, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Parag sir. Good evening to all of
Good
you.
evening.
And thanks to the CP committee, the chairman, vice chairman, and all the office bearer and all the team of the CP committee for giving me another opportunity. Earlier, we discussed in the CP committee notices DNA past 6 months before. Now we are coming up to appeals DNA. So DNA means you have to analyze each and every aspects of a particular topic, and it would be grateful for me to deliver that particular hot topic nowadays in your areas. So I'm sharing my screen. I hope it is visible, sir. Visible, sir. So I'm proceeding. GST appeal DNA. So what about the initiation of the litigation? We are now into the appeal perspective after the raising of demand by the officer. It would be highly appreciated that who is my officer? What's the validity of the show cause notice? What are the contents to be available or there in a DRC 07 demand order? Basically, in our GST appeal DNA, we are focusing only on the first appellate authority only, on the basis on which the appellable order against which we are filing our appeal. So the initiation of the litigation starts with the show cause notice. Show cause notice, you can say the opportunity should be provided to the taxpayer before issuing any demand come show cause notice. So in our GST perspective, there is a DRC 07, which is a demand order, and there is a DRC 01, which is the show cause notice. So there are process. First, DRC 1 will come. On the basis of DRC 1 and DRC 2, the show cause notice and their attachment, we are replying against particular DRC 01 in the form of DRC 06. After the DRC 06, either the payment should be made or not, as per my working. If the payment should be made, then we are making payment through DRC 03. If the order is being passed to drop the proceeding, then DRC 05 would be passed by the proper officer. Again, I'm focusing on the proper officer. DRC 05 would be passed by the proper officer. Next, if the proper officer is not satisfied with your DRC 06, then he or she will pass DRC 07, and that is the appellable order against which we can file appeal against that particular appellable order. So the initiation of the litigation starts with the show cause notice. And we are very sure about that. There is no recovery without show cause notice. There is a possibility. Section 75 amended earlier in Union Budget 2022 or 23, where whenever there is any difference between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, whenever there is any difference between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, it means there is underreporting of tax in GSTR 3B, and that will come as a self-assessment tax, and the recovery should be made of this amount, this differential amount, without issuing show cause notice. And DRC 01 would be intimated by the GST portal. If the no reply has been received within a period of 7 days, then the recovery proceedings shall be initiated. So we have some case laws regarding this. LC Infra Project, Mahadev Construction Company, on the basis of which there should be no recovery without issuing any show cause notice. The adjudication order. Who will pass the show cause notice? One question. Who will adjudicate that particular show cause notice? My second question. Then who will pass the order against that particular show cause notice? So these are totally defined in various circular. We will discuss in detail or in short within a short span of a time. So the adjudication order cannot go beyond the scope of the notice. It means whenever there is any subject matter defined in the show cause notice, for example, there is a difference between mismatch between 1 and GST or 3B. There is a mismatch between 2A and 3B. So the subject matter must be same. Yes, sir. Audible, sir?
Praveen sir, your voice is audible, no doubt about it, but some breaks are happening in between. So will you please to check out at your end the
Let me check.
voice clarity comes properly, please?
Okay, let me. So I'm starting. Audible, sir? Now?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Okay. So the adjudication order cannot go beyond the scope of the show cause notice, and the amount cannot be increased as mentioned in the show cause notice. For example, there is an amount in the show cause notice that something 1,20,000 tax should be payable along with interest and penalty. So the order cannot go beyond that particular 1,20,000 of the tax amount. Right. Next. All the order against which appeal can be filed are known as the appellable order. Any person agree with the order passed by the adjudicating authority can file an appeal under the GST before the first appellate authority. So, who is my proper officer? Who will pass the order? And that order is the appellable order against which first appeal can be filed. Who is my adjudicating authority? So section 2(4) has defined that who is the adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority under the GST is an authority appointed or authorized to pass any order, but doesn't include the CBIC or the AAR, National Appellate Tribunal, etc. The adjudicating authority is not a court of law. We know very well. So whatever order passed by the adjudicating authority is not final. I'm not satisfied with the order of the adjudicating authority, and I can appeal to the higher authority against that particular order, and that is called as the first appeal against the adjudicating authority. Who is my proper officer? Who is my proper officer? So you have to start with the circular 1/1 by 2017. That circular define the proper officer for provision relating to the registration and the composition levy. So it is not my perspective of this particular webinar. Then we proceed to the circular number 3/3 by 2017. Second circular, as amended by 31 by 5 by 2018. So what does it mean? That circular 3/3 by 2017 as amended by 31 by 5 by 2018, that all officer, even the superintendent of the GST, up to the rank of the additional commissioner or the oblique joint commissioner of the central tax are assigned as the proper officer. So who will pass the order? Who will pass the Shoka notice and order under section 73 and 74? All officer up to the rank of the additional commissioner or the joint commissioner. Similarly, in addition to this, monetary limit also been prescribed. It means whenever any Shoko notice has been issued, you can say there is a three slabs are there in the circular 31 by 5 by 2018, where the superintendent of the CGST can pass or issue Shoko notice where the monetary limit is up to 10 lakh of rupees. In addition to this, Deputy Commissioner or the Assistant Commissioner can issue Shoko notice and pass the order above, in case of monetary limit above 10 lakh of rupees, but up to 1 crore of rupees. And for exceeding 1 crore of rupees, the additional or the joint commissioner will come into the picture to issue the Shoko notice or to pass the order in relation to the central tax. So what does it mean? On the basis of this particular PPT here, circular 3/3 by 2017 amended by 31 by 5 by 2018, where all officer up to the rank of additional JC are assigned as the proper officer for issuing the Shoko notice and order under 73 and 74, relating to the 73 and 74. Similarly, monetary limit you also have to check. For example, where Shoko notice has been issued relating to an amount of central tax of 4 crore of rupees, 4 crores of rupees, and the notice or the order is passed by the deputy commissioner or the assistant commissioner. It is not a valid notice because monetary limit has been prescribed. In case amount exceeding 1 crore of rupees, the additional or the joint commissioner are the proper officer only to issue the Shoko notice or pass the order. You have to check carefully. Who is my proper officer? Who is my jurisdiction officer? So that will be benefit in your appeal also. That will be benefit in case appeal is rejected and you have to move to the higher courts. Then it would be beneficial for you at the time of the grounds of appeal that you have to mention that Shoko notice is invalid, is vague, order is likely to be quashed, and the appellable order is not a valid order under the GST perspective. Then who is my proper officer is defined in the Act. Relevant circular. So all officer we have discussed and the monetary limit we have discussed. Why Shoko notice has been given? Tax not paid, short paid, tax erroneously refunded, input tax credit wrongly availed or the utilized, non-compliance of any of the provision under the GST Act, evasion of the taxes, excess ITC availed, frauds been committed, or issuing of any invoice without movement of the goods or the movement of the goods without issuing any invoice. There are so many perspectives mentioned in the Shoko notice. What Shoko notice contains? Because it is important. When we have to going to file an appeal, we have to check each and every aspects of the show cause notice, because something you have to check that validity of the show cause notice is must before passing any order against it. And you have to mention this in your every grounds of appeal and in your submissions. Show cause notice number and the date of the issuance. It is important. Yes, it is very, very important. Date of issuing on the show cause notice for the 1718, there is a time limit. For the 1819, there is a time limit. You have to check carefully. For the section 73, there is a time limit for issuing the notice. For the section 74, there is a time limit for issuing on the show cause notice. You have to check carefully whether for a particular period notice is being served within certain time limit. The name and address of the recipient, the appellant, the GST registration number of the recipient, the nature of the alleged offense, violation. So, show cause notice must be in the DRC 01 format only. And DRC 02 must contain the alleged offense in detailed. The provision of the GST law under which section the violation has been done. The deadline for the recipient to respond to the notice, whether person hearing has been conducted by the proper officer or not. For example, show cause notice comes, reply has been given in DRC 06, but the PH is not confirmed by the proper officer and the order has been passed. So it is not a speaking order. Reply has already been filed and the reply has not been considered. So there is a against the principle of natural justice. There are many, many judgments you can quote in your grounds of appeal. Consequences for not replying to the show cause notice. Reasons. There are many reasons. 1 and 3B difference. There are many reasons. 1 and 3B mismatch being reported. Mismatch between GST-1 and e-Waybill portal. Having failed to obtain the GST registration, ITC has been claimed in excess of 2A or 2B in your GST 3B. Non-payment short payment of GST, wrongly availed ITC, anti-profiting cases can be appealed against. Non-furnishing of the information written within the given time limit, non-compliance with the e-invoicing. There are many, many reasons against which show cause notice can be come. Reply failed. So, you know very well, under section 73, 10% of the penalty should be order passed by the proper officer. In the case of a 74, 100% penalty should be demanded by the proper officer. Initiation of the legal proceeding, disqualifying the taxpayer from availing of the ITC, suspension cancellation can be done. So these are other perspective. DRC1, important being because you have to check each and every perspective of the DRC1 in your grounds of appeal. DRC1 contains the details of the person to whom show cause notice has been issued, the tax period, the section reference, show cause notice reference number. Also, show cause notice DRC1 can be issued online and can be issued offline, online or offline. If the order is being passed or the order being uploaded online, then appeal can be filed against that particular order online mode only, because order is being served online on the common portal. If the CGST officer pass the order in an offline mode through the email one, through the WhatsApp one, but not uploaded on the portal, but you have to file an appeal against that particular order in the offline mode only. So you have to check both the perspective. There is a case. Let me share some interesting point with you. I have just filed an appeal in a particular case where DRC 01 is online. Reply has been filed against that particular DRC1 online. And the reply has not been considered satisfactory by the proper officer. DRC 07 passed. So demand cum show cause notice has been passed. But where? DRC 07 passed by the proper officer, passed by the assistant commissioner, having a demand of 4 crore of rupees on the common portal. But DRC 02, but the detailed order is coming on mail So you have to check carefully. DRC 07 uploaded by the Assistant Commissioner. What is the time limit of passing of order by the Assistant Commissioner? Is 1 crore of rupees. But there is a demand mentioned in DRC 07 is 4 crore of rupees. So what is the validity of that particular order? Nothing. The order is not a valid order. Is liable to be quashed. Like you can say the vague. Time limit to issue the show cause notice. So there is a bona fide defaulter to 2 years, 9 months is there, mala fide defaulter. So there is a another time limit under section 73 or 74. So the table showing here is the most important one. Now the time has come 30th April. 30th April is the due date to pass an order related to the financial year 18-19. And 31st May is the time limit to issue the show cause notice for the 1920. And you have to see the below table where 17-18 time limit is being 5-7 August 2024. Above table is related to section 73. Below table is related to the section 74. So it means if the order has been passed, dropping of proceeding has been done for the 17-18, for the 18-19, still sections under section 74, notice can be served online on or before 5-7 August 2024 relating to financial year 17-18. But who will check whether section 73 time limit has gone and section 74 has come into the picture? Then who will have to satisfy whether this particular show cause notice issued by the proper officer is not in relation to section 74, but it should be relation to the section 73. What does it mean? It means the officer has to prove the alleged offense has to be proved by the proper officer that this notice has been served in relation to section 74 due to the fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of facts. If, as a taxpayer, I have proved that the notice can only be served, only being served through section 73 only, not in relation to the section 74, then the proceeding would be dropped by the proper officer because time limit has gone in relation to the section 73. There is a circular. There is a circular 200 or 199 circular which define that whenever any adjudication proceeding is going on and in later it has been proved that this notice would be served under section 73, but it's served in section 74, then the proceeding would be dropped by the proper officer and there would be no demand against that particular show cause notice. Sequential filing of the DRC. So summary of the show cause notice would be in the DRC 1. It should be in the prescribed format. I have received an order in a different case where order has been served, but not a particular format. So this order is not a valid order. This notice is not a valid notice. You have to appreciate this fact that order or the show cause notice must be in a particular prescribed format only. So summary of the show cause notice in DRC 01, summary of the statement in DRC 02, payment should be made in DRC 03, acknowledgement should be undertaken from the proper officer in DRC 04, conclusion or the dropping of the proceeding would be in DRC 05, reply against that particular show cause notice would be in DRC 06 against DRC 1. And the order should be passed by the proper officer if it is not satisfied in DRC 07. Rectification can be done in DRC 08. If the order has been come in DRC 07, then you have to file an appeal against DRC 07 or DRC 08. But rectification is done, you are not able to file an appeal. Either you have to file an appeal or apply or request for rectification of an order passed by the proper officer in DRC 07 or DRC 05. So on the GST portal, under the menu user services, there is an option view additional notice and order where you can find your notice and order. These are the summary. And on the left side, there is a notice, reply, report, request, etc. Moving ahead, validity of the Shoko notice must be challenged in your grounds of appeal. First, it should be in the prescribed format, proper format. Next, time limit under section 73 or 74. If it is not being served within the time limit, then the notice is not a valid notice in the eyes of law. Not to be issued in a routine manner. What does it mean? There are no allegations being specified in the Shoko notice. Allegation must be with the documentary evidence in the form of the RUDs. You may ask from the proper officer against which the notice has been served to me. Likewise, under section 147 and under the Income Tax Act, reasons to believe, DIN number must be mentioned in the Shoko notice, right? And also in the order also. And most importantly, because it's skip always. Who is my proper officer? Who is my proper officer? I have already defined in the circular 31/5/2018. Then who is my proper officer? Who is going to adjudicate my notice being served by any of the authority? Who is going to adjudicate? Who will pass the order? It's the most important thing. The date, the format, the alleged offense, the DIN number, the proper officer, the amount, the section, etc. Because it would be helpful while you are filing an appeal and giving your submission in the appeal in your grounds of appeal. Handling of the GST proceeding. So these are some important case laws where on a daily basis we are finding it as a easy manner. Arise India Limited, Honorable Supreme. In the above two cases, there is a concept of level 1, level 2 entity. Level 1, level 2, level 3 entity, where level 1 entity issue the invoice without movement of the goods to the level 2 entity. So this would be helpful whenever you are a recipient and you have made the payment to the supplier, you have all the invoices, you have all the movement of the goods documents, and you have paid the taxes to the supplier, then the Arise India Limited and the Suresh Trading Company would be helpful in that particular facts of the case. Bharti Airtel Limited. Honorable Supreme Court defined in the case of a 2A. What is 2A? 2A is not defined under the Act. 2A is just a facilitation. 2A is not a meaning to avail the particular ITC or the credit. If any ITC is coming in 2A, it doesn't mean that you have to take on the basis of a 2A, because 2B will come on 1st of January 2022 only. The section is being amended 16(2)AA and 16(2)BA through the Union Budget 2022. So the Bharti Airtel case is briefly explained about 2A just a facilitation. It would be helpful in your case for the period of 17-18, 18-19 and 19-20, and also for the 2021. Similarly, you have to follow you may follow the circular 183 also, where there is a mismatch between 3B and 2A, and you have paid all the taxes to your supplier, and you have to take declaration from your supplier that all the supply has been done through the movement of the goods and all the taxes has been paid. LGW industry. Honorable Kolkata High Court. It's a very, very good case to quote in cases where supplier registration has been retrospectively cancelled by the proper officer, their jurisdiction authority. So what does it mean? ITC is being reflected in 2A, but not in 8A of GST 9. So my proper officer serving notices to me and saying that your supplier registration is being retrospectively cancelled by the authority. So you are not entitled to a particular ITC relating to the particular supplier. But what about Honorable Court in the case of LGW industry defines held that, see, first thing, whenever there is any transaction between supplier and recipient, is the supplier is existent? Yes. If the supplier is existent, then this is the you may prove it. It may prove that the supply has been done. You have the invoices, yes sir. Supplier is existence, yes sir. You have paid all the taxes to your supplier, yes sir. So Honorable Kolkata High Court has said, first take the recovery from the supplier. If the supplier has paid the taxes, it's okay. You have to ask the supplier to the department authority that you have to ask the supplier, you have to take a recovery from the supplier. First, the recovery should be taken from the supplier. If the recovery has been done, then there will be no demand against the recipient. DY Bethel and Suncraft Energy, in both the cases, Honorable High Court has said to check each and every supplier whether they have paid the taxes or not. So each case is having different facts, having different allegations. You have to match with your Shoko notice, your facts, your allegation, and quote this particular in your grounds of appeal. Now, one of the major thing we have to discuss, the appeal under the GST. So we have discussed Shoko notice, validity of the Shoko notice, what are the contents would be there in the Shoko notice, who will my proper officer, who is my proper officer, who will adjudicate my case, what are the monetary limits involved in a case where who will pass the order against it. So there are multiple perspectives. Precondition, appeal against demand order. Demand order, DRC 07. So order must be passed by the adjudicating authority. Who is adjudicating authority? Defined in the circular 31/5/2018 for a taxpayer to file an appeal to the appellate authority. So now we are proceeding to file an appeal. User services. Under the user services, go to the My Application. Under the My Application, application type, drop line menu, select the appeal to the appellate authority, click on the new application, then the order type and the order number will come. In the order type, they can be the enforcement order under section 129, assessment demand order, DRC 07, registration order, refund order, RFD, assessment non-demand order, or the LUT order. There are 3 plus 6 order type would be there in the drop line menu. Detailed types of the demand order, assessment order under section 62, 63, 64, similar 64, under section 125 for imposing penalty, for dropping of the penalty proceeding, and the DRC 07. These are types of the demand order. Assessment order under section 73, 74, 76. Order dropping proceeding under section 73 or 74. Rectification of the order. It means you can file an appeal against that particular rectification of the order also. Order of rejection of the application for rejection, rectification, order of dropping of proceeding under section 63. So after putting an order, demand order, and the order type, order number, when we are proceeding online, there is a menu category of the case under dispute. You have to select in your case misclassification of any goods or services, wrong applicability of the notification, incorrect determination of time and value of supply, input tax credit, liability to pay the taxes, applicant is liable to be registered. So there are many 16 cases are there. You have to check and verify with your records, with your facts, and proceed on. Below the menu, there is an option, disputed amount payment detail. Whenever you are filing an appeal, you have to discharge 10% of the disputed amount. For example, there is a 10 lakh of rupees of tax amount in the demand order. So for the 10 lakh of rupees, you are filing an appeal. That 10 lakh is the totally disputed amount. No tax. I have already paid the taxes. So 10 lakh is full disputed amount. Against that particular 10 lakh, 10% comes to 1 lakh of rupees. You have to discharge disputed amount as 10% of the tax amount and proceed on. Without paying 10% of the disputed amount, you are not able to file and submit the appeal. Right, sir? So, here is an option. Click here to download the annexure GST APL 1. I'm sharing with the different slide. Upload annexure to APL 01. On the above menu, APL 01 to be uploaded in the form of a PDF. And below table, upload annexure to GST APL 01 to be uploaded, maximum 4 file up to a maximum 5 MB. Here is a disputed demand, 10% of the amount demand, minimum 10% must be there. Below 10%, you have to take a declaration or from the competent or the higher authority, you have to take an approval, whether below 10% may be undertaken or not. Last steps to file and submit an appeal. Minimum 10% of the disputed amount needs to be paid. Minimum 10% of the disputed amount. A lower percentage needs an approval from the authority. Right. The taxpayer can make the payment by either utilizing the case or the balance available in the credit ledger. This 10% of the amount. Add supporting document, maximum 4. The remaining document can be handed over in the hard copy. You have to submit all the certified copies, including APL 01, within 7 days to get the appeal admitted. What does it mean? If the order is online, appeal should be online. And you have, whenever you are making the payment of the 10% of the amount and the submission of the appeal, at the time of submission of the appeal, 10% amount should be payable. APL 1 to be uploaded form in the prescribed format. And when after clicking the submit button or the file button, there's an option will come, a provisional acknowledgement will come. Take the printout of the provisional acknowledgement, including APL 01 and your grounds appeal, all the document, and submit to the authority within a period of 7 days to get the appeal admitted. Now, some more questions. Who will file an appeal to the appellate authority? Who will file an appeal to the appellate authority? Any taxpayer, any registered taxpayer or the unregistered person may file as an aggrieved person to the appellate authority. What are the preconditions? Order must be passed by the proper officer. That is the precondition. What will happen if I do not file an appeal within a period of 3 months? So, DRC 07 is passed, for example, 5th of December 2023. You have to file an appeal within a period of 3 months from the date of communication of a particular order. The order date is 5th of December, 3 months, 4th of March. So it means you have to file an appeal online against that particular order within a period of 3 months. Can extra time would be available? Yes. 1 month condonation of delay would be available. Is it necessary to deposit 10% of the disputed amount and whether the disputed tax balance for the filing of appeal? Yes, it is necessary. It is mandatory to deposit 10% of the disputed amount, and it may be adjusted through cash ledger or the credit ledger. Then all the demand on the portal would be stay after filing an appeal. Can pre-deposit be made by utilizing credit ledger? Yes, Circular 172 also defines that. Is the appellate authority required to give an opportunity of being heard to the appellant before passing an order in appeal? Yes. Personal hearing is must, and this is your right. Can appellant seek adjournment of hearing? Yes. Maximum 3 adjournment can be undertaken. Can an appellant add more grounds of appeal? Yes. You have to mention in your grounds of appeal that if something is missing in this grounds of appeal, kindly allow me to add more grounds of appeal at the time of the hearing of the taxpayer of the particular appeal. Can I withdraw an appeal application after filing it? Can I withdraw an appeal application after filing it? Yes, I can withdraw. Can an appeal application be filed again after withdrawal? Yes, the portal is allowing. How many times can an appeal application be withdrawn? Maximum 2 times. Maximum 2 times. Can I file an application after it has been rejected at the admission stage? Yes. How many times can I refile an application? 1 time. Manner of filing of the appeal. Creating an appeal to the appellate authority in the prescribed format APL1. Upload annexure to the APL1. APL1 is different terms. Annexure is different terms. Annexure is your documents. Disputed amount must be paid, minimum 10% of the amount. Pre-deposit percentage is the 10% of the amount. It may be utilized through cash or the ITC. I may upload any other another supporting document in addition to my annexure also. Preview the application and proceed to file it. So I'm just sharing another where 1 minute. APL1. 1 minute. So I hope it is visible. So this is the APL1 downloaded from the portal, and I have to just mention or put my detail or the appellant detail in different box. GST number, legal name of the applicant, trade name, address, order number, designation of the person passing the order appealed against, the particular designation of the officer, date of communication of the order, who is the authorized representative person, Brief issue of the case under dispute. For example, in my case is the access claim of the ITC. Period of dispute 1718. Because officer has to pass the order within a period of 1 year from the date of from the date of filing an appeal at the time of the acknowledgement of the appeal. Amount under dispute, tax amount, interest amount, penalty amount, and the total amount. This is a particular format. This is the C or S. Market value seized goods. Heard in person. Yes, I require the personal hearing. Statement of facts in Annexure A. Grounds of appeal in Annexure B. Prayer as per grounds of appeal. Amount of demand created, admitted, and disputed. Above amount. Whole amount is being disputed. Detail of payment of the admitted amount of the pre-deposit amount is the 10% above amount. So it means I am set off this amount through the cash ledger. Cash ledger. Whether appeal is being filed after the prescribed period? No. If yes, then yes. Period of delay, maximum 1 month would be allowed as a condonation of delay, reason of delay, etc. So now Annexure A is a statement of facts. What are the facts? You have to mention that this is the appellant, address, is filing the present appeal against the order, order is reference number is this, dated is this, and passed by the Deputy Commissioner. And the copy of the order is attached herewith. Against that particular order, the written reply is submitted by the taxpayer, but it is not being found legally tenable by the proper officer, and against which appeal has been filed to your authority. So these are the particular facts. You have to mention the facts, the details of the order, details of the Shoko notice, the reply against which Shoko notice has been issued, uploaded. Shoko notice and allegation. The appellant has served been Shoko notice reference number under section 73 in the form DRC1, copy attached in Annexure A2. You have to attach the copy of the order, copy of the Shoko notice, and the copy of the reply in form of DRC 06. Interim reply has been done. Copy attached in the interim reply. In reply, the revenue is requested to rely upon document. So these are some of the grounds. Before the grounds of appeal is the statement of facts. Now, the grounds of appeal is the important one. The contention made in the Shoko notice are fallacious and incorrect and are based entirely on the assumption and presumption and without appraising the facts and circumstances, etc., etc., etc. My submission is that, so in this particular case, there is a mismatch between 2 and 3B, of which the supplier registration has been retrospectively cancelled, and on the basis of which demand is being generated. So SSC has been served with a Shoko notice. Shoko notice showing demand of 2,25,000, 2,25,000 CORS. So while going through the detailed working, these are the GSTR 9 screenshot I have attached in my grounds of appeal. I am emphasizing on the 2A and 2B, and the 2B will come on 1st of January 2022. Some of the condition mentioned in the section 16 I have already mentioned here. It is irrelevant that the input tax credit must be reflected in 2A of the said period as all the condition has been satisfied with, and section 16(2)AA is being introduced on 1st of January 22 only. In this regard, observation taken from the recent judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of a Bharti Airtel Limited, rejecting the reliance of the GST department on 2A or 2B perspective. So I've quoted many judgment, DY Bethel Enterprises, press release 4 May 2018. And then I'm proceeding that these one of the supplier whose registration has been cancelled because the supplier is in the CIRP process or the insolvency process, and these are some of the details of the invoices on which the ITC has been taken away by the appellant, and the copy of the invoices, transportation document, bank payment proof I have attached in my another annexure A5. So I mentioned each and every detailed in addition to section 16, one of the condition on the basis of which the ITC has been availed by the appellant. Certificate from the supplier as per circular 183. So you have to mention in your grounds of appeal, in your submission, right perspective taken first step from the show notice. That is why I have started my deliberation from the show notice. Show notice is an important document on the basis of which you have to start with the ABCD. Take the printout of that particular show notice and check reference number, date of the show notice, alleged offense, under which section show notice has been served, who is the proper officer, and check with the relevant circular that he is my proper officer who is going to issue the notice. My reply, my satisfactory reply, not being considered against the principle of natural justice. My estoppel, there is a legal terms, my estoppel, doctrine of res judicata, doctrine of impossibility. So there are many such principles are there. You have to follow it. And this is not an easy task to prepare an appeal. Not an easy task to draft an appeal. It's an art. It's basically an art. It's very easy to file a GST return. It's very easy to matching of the records. It's very easy to reconcile the things. But appeal is an art. You have to see, comes from the experience only. As many as appeal you are filing and you are taken yourself, not to the your junior one or not to the article one. You have to follow your principles. You have to your skill must be capable enough to draft such particular appeal. So this is a 17 pages of appeal. I have just filed an appeal relating to a big power distribution company of a 74 pages of a single case. The single allegation is the supply. See, this is your income and this is a supply. So supply is a very vast topic. On the basis of the chargeability of the GST is undertaken.
Praveen
So
sir,
I'm proceeding.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but there
Yes, sir.
are time is very short, and you have to respond 5 6 questions.
Yes,
Uh,
I've closed.
please,
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
yeah, sir.
And
Sir,
and at the very end, sir, one
yeah,
minute, sir.
please.
At the very end, interest not payable and the penalty not impossible. There are many judgments in my appeal. Prayer at the end is must that to set aside the order, to provide me the opportunity, to provide me the copies of the relied upon document, and the appeal be kindly be allowed. And at the last, the verification, sign, and signature. So this is the appeal one format. You have to convert into the PDF and uploaded it, file it, submit it, taken the print of the provisional acknowledgement and annexure to it, and submit the all the certified copy to the department within a period of 7 days. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Praveen sir. Sir, one question for you is from Mr. Yogi Upadhyay.
Yes, sir.
His question is it mandatory to sign the SC and attach with DRC 01 or the order attached with DRC 07 digitally or manually?
So it is Obviously, not my document, but it is advisable at the time of submission of your certified copy that each and every copy must be signed by the appellant or by the authorized representative.
Right, sir. Sir, one question is from Narendra Kumar Tripathi. His question is, has GST DIN any role from the validity point of view of GST notices?
Yes, sir, it's very important. In the case of the CGST notices, but not in the case of the SGST one, because in some cases, in some state, SGST circular has not been passed that mandatory DIN should be mentioned on the particular notice. But it would be appreciate to see the fact that whenever any notices will come online, there is a reference number. So reference number, either the DIN number from the CGST perspective or the reference number on the GST portal is similar thing, that reference number must be there in your show cause notice.
Fine, sir. Sir, one question is from Rahul Dev. He's from Ankleshwar. His question is, the monetary limit should be with reference to the total demand, including interest and penalty, or only with reference to the tax only?
Only with reference to the tax only.
Okay, fine, sir. His another question is whether deputy commissioner is subordinate or to additional commissioner or at par.
It's subordinate to the, obviously, subordinate to the additional or the joint commissioner.
Fine, sir. One question is from Suresh Imdabutarani. His question is, sir, GST appeal order passed under section 73 to pay penalty by converting penalty payable from section 74 to section 73. Appeal order was passed on January 31st, 24 under section 73. Is the order valid?
The first thing you have to check in the Shoko notice under which section Shoko notice has been come. If it is come through section 73, then the order must be passed within a certain time limit. And the order must be passed, there is a time limit for passing an order related to 1718 was 31st of December 2023. If the order is passed on 31st of January, then the allegation would be under section 74 only. If it is in relation to the section 73, then the order is not a valid order.
Fine, sir.
You have to
One
check
question
the
is from Mr.
allegation.
Kushal. He has praised your presentation very fine. He said that can we pay the pre-deposit of 10% using the balance in electronic credit ledger?
Yes, sir, we can.
Fine. One question is from Delhi. What he says, 10% of disputed tax in which GST form to be deposited. Which form GST to be deposited? 10%.
It's not a form. It's not a form. I have just deliberated through my PPT that when you are going to under the user services appeal to the appellate authority, there is a menu on the right side of the button disputed amount. You have to click on the disputed amount and put the whole disputed amount in the tax, interest and penalty. Then the portal move to some other window by calculating 10% of the total disputed amount, and the portal itself set off the things of that 10% through the cash ledger or the credit ledger. There is not a form. It is already being implemented, connected in APL one format only, not a different form.
Fine, sir. One question is from Santaram Shenoy. His question is, what happens after filing the appeal online? The hard copy is not submitted within 7 days.
It's not an issue. It's
Fine,
not
sir.
an issue.
Not an issue. Fine. Question is from Pankaj Kumar Agrawal. His question is, how to get soft copy of notes?
This one.
Presentation
Presentation I would share to
with the CP
the
committee.
CP committee.
Fine, sir. One question from Pranav Lath. He says, DRC 01 issued after the time limit. Filing an appeal, department says we won't consider the same as there is loss of revenue. Go to the High Court. What to do in such cases?
So again, if the DRC 01 comes relating to 1718 after 30th September 2023 and the allegation section is section 73, that is not a valid notice. You even not to reply that a notice.
Fine.
Notice is incorrect, is vague, is being quashed.
Yes, sir. One question from Mayank Rawal. Mayank says bona fide error committed by an SSE while filing GSTR 3B for AY financial year 2017-18. Order passed under section 73 stating tax and interest. The error
Obviously,
was
you,
bona
you
fide
have
on the part
to,
of SSE.
obviously, in the maximum cases, there is a bona fide part, and there is no such mala fide intention that you have evaded the particular taxes. You have to mention or reply within a particular time limit. If the time limit has gone, then the obviously order is being passed. If the order is being passed, you have to file an appeal against that particular order. Mention in your grounds of appeal that all the taxes has been paid with your all reco, with your all reconciliation statement, with your all the evidence, and prove it.
Yeah. Mr. Vijay Singh from Delhi, he says, sir, can we raise additional grounds of appeal on the hearing?
Yes, we can, sir.
Fine, sir.
We can, sir.
Yeah. One question is from Anand Mani from Bihar. He says, is it necessary to submit all the document to department after filing an appeal?
It is not mandatory thing. If the order is being uploaded, then appeal should be filed against that particular order online only, and it is a valid thing. Now on the officer duty to pass or to reply against APL1 in the form of APL2 online only. But there are many maximum cases. Maximum
Fine.
cases, all the department is being considered that you file or submit the certified copy after taking printout of it and take the personal hearing, because there are shortage of the staff available in a department. So if you want to clear or resolve your appeal in as early as manner, then submit the certified copy in the form of documentation and take the date of the personal hearing.
Mayank Agrawal asks you a question. Our ITC has been blocked by DC into bracket SIB of other jurisdiction. Can he do so?
Yes, there is a possibility. He is the proper officer of all India jurisdiction.
Okay. One gentleman from Ghaziabad, he has asked you a question. Order was handed over to us on 12/12/2023, but
Hmm.
uploaded on the portal on 31st December 23. Which
Hmm.
date is to be considered for 3 months calculation?
Sir, if the order is being uploaded online, that will be the communication of such order only.
Fine.
You have to take on 3 months from that particular date.
One question is from Arnakulam. Sir, pre-deposit percentage of disputed tax filed, uh, tax filled will have 10% as default value. Is compulsory?
Yes, it's compulsory, sir. 10% is minimum amount.
Yes. Another question, uh, sir, pre-deposit. Sorry, the same question is.
Hmm.
One question is from Delhi. Whether ITC available can be availed with the 10% amount to be deposited for demand. Whether
Obviously,
ITC. Okay,
ITC, we can use the ITC amount through the credit ledger.
fine. Uh, Another question is time limit for accepting or rejecting the rectification application filed by taxpayer for DRC 07.
Time
Time
limit
limit.
for rectification is against 3 months.
Okay. One question from Akola. He says, if we withdraw the appeal, we can get the fees back.
Which fees? 10%.
10%.
It would be adjusted with the demand amount.
Okay. One question from CA of Balotra. He says my client has filed GST 3B for the period 18-19 in financial year 2020 and claim ITC. Finally, he got DRC 07 from the department. Please advise whether we have to do.
We have to do. What does it mean? The GST return
Now
has
what
been
to
filed.
do? Now what we have to do? This question we can reframe now because he has issued finally in DRC 07 by the department. In this case, what to do?
Appeal procedure only,
Only
sir.
the yeah. One question is from Mumbai. If order is done on October 23 and no appeal filed till date, can we accept? Can we accept if filed now by appellate authority?
Sir, there is a time limit of 3 months from the date of communication of order, and 1 month is the condonation of delay as per the section 107 of the CGST Act. But there is no other option left as per the appellate proceeding. You may file an appeal and state the reason of the delay of the filing an appeal. Then let's see, because no other option left.
Yeah. Mayank Agrawal asked another question. Sir, can you please tell under which section DC into bracket SIB of another jurisdiction has powers to be the proper officer?
Sir, you have to refer, you have to refer to 31/5/2018 circular in addition to notification 2/2022.
Okay. The last two questions. One is from Nagpur. He says due to technical glitch, online appeal could not be filed. Physical appeal filed. Appellate authority asking to pay 10% through DRC 03. Is it correct?
Correct, sir.
Fine. And the one last question is from Madhubani. The question is rectification application for DRC 07 filed online. Whether necessary to deposit copy of it physically to the proper officer?
No, not required.
Sir,
But
there
for
are
early resolution, visit your jurisdiction authority and resolve the matter.
So, other question also pop up. One question says from Gantur, please clarify whether pre-deposit of 10% of disputed tax amount or disputed tax interest and penalty amount.
10% of the amount is on the tax value only, not on interest, not on penalty.
One is from Ghaziabad. He says, in case of DRC 03 filed voluntarily, which form is final form to be issued by department?
Please repeat, sir.
Is in case of DRC 03 filed voluntarily,
Yes,
which
sir.
form is final form to be issued by the department?
DRC 04, acknowledgement.
From Ernakulam, demand already paid, but filed the appeal, whether 10% again compulsory?
Yes, compulsory, mandatory.
Question from Mumbai says, one client has claimed ITC after due date, March 19, filed December 20. Then officer disallowed, then appeal filed. Can the same demand rejected?
Can the same demand rejected at the time of appeal? Then let's see what will be going on in the appeal hearing.
Fine, sir. Sir, many of the participants have praised your presentation, and even many of the participants asked for your presentation. Of course, CPA committee will do the needful by uploading your presentation on the website. But sir,
Right.
let me tell you, sir, you have made the presentation very wonderful. It is just like a slow rainfall on the earth. और सर आपके लिए मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि सर कैसे शुक्रिया अदा करे आपकी दरिया दिली का। एक बूंद मांगने आए थे आपसे और आपने तो सागर बहा दिया ज्ञान का। वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन सर, फ्रॉम द बॉटम ऑफ माय हार्ट, from the entire CP committee, I'm highly thankful to you
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
fantastic presentation.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
also thankful to the Vice Chairman CP Committee, Chairman of CP Committee CA Purushottam Khandelwal, Ajitnath Tiwari Sir, Secretary, Shreya Bhai, Payal Ben, and entire CP Secretariat for the arranging this session wonderfully. If Vice Chairman Sir Gyan Chandra Sir is there, I would request him to request him for the concluding remark. Gyan sir, is Gyan sir there? Oh, okay, Gyan sir is not available, but anyway, I once again thank all the participants for remaining in such a large number. To all these, both these speakers, CA Kuntal and Sharma ji, for the fantastic presentation. And thanks to Shrey Bhai, Payal Ben, Ajit Nath Tiwari sir, and entire CP committee of ICI. And with this, I declare this meeting to be concluded. Thank you all.